Hello and welcome to TV News and Inside Look. This documentary is designed to take you behind the scenes of this amazing business, to gain insightful information from professionals that worked in this industry from 1 to 60 years. In total, the journalists you'll meet have over 300 years of experience and ready to reveal their secrets to you. Now remember, each of them started where you are right now. So listen carefully, take notes. This is TV News and Inside Look.
Gotta sign a contract. They're anywhere usually from a year to 3 years long. Our viewers tell us one of the things that irritates them the most is the turnover. But every 5 minutes they see a new 21-year-old kid reporting the news. So I sign my reporters to 3-year contracts. They have outs in the 3rd year. The station is going to invest a lot in you. I'm going to invest a lot in you. I'm going to teach you. You're going to get your master's degree at KWST. The station does hold the cards. The things are written to benefit the company. They are not written to benefit the employee. And there's not very many news directors that are probably going to sit there and tell you that. But it wasn't that long ago that I was on the other side of this desk signing contracts.
Before signing a contract, many broadcasters seek the advice of a broadcast attorney like Bob Teaf.
What you need to do is to determine in the proposal what are the things that management wants and what are the things that they don't want. What are the things that are maneuverable or movable or they're likely to give you on. We have a knee-jerk reaction about giving an answer when perhaps you could do just as well by telling the people on the other side that you'd like to think about that. Remember, the people on the other side of the table negotiate tens or dozens or hundreds of contracts, and you're sitting there perhaps your first one. So they have a perspective that you don't have. And part of my job is to give perspective to the individual talent, to tell him where on a scale of 1 to 10 this fits. And one of the things that I can tell them is they don't have to have an answer for everything because management doesn't necessarily expect an answer from everything. But once you have given an answer, then perhaps you've taken that issue off the table. What I like to do is to have the feel comfortable in hearing everything they want to hear, but don't necessarily make commitments on things until we've had a chance to discuss. Because unless we know, or we have a chance to talk, the talent may not appreciate the significance of something, or what it means to management, or why management will be insistent on something and perhaps not insistent on something else. So if the fewer commitments they have, the fewer expectations they have, the better off. The more value a talent places on a particular issue, the more the other side knows how important it is, and they make you pay for it.
Bob advises reviewing contracts with a fine-tooth comb.
The first pass with a proposed contract or a contract proposal is, what does it say? Second pass is, what does it mean? Third pass is, what variables in here are movable and subject to negotiation? And what is the next pass is, what's the likelihood of there being movement on different contract elements? And the other factor that may sound obvious, but I think it needs to be verbalized, is an understanding of the attention span of the people that you're working with. Do you have to make your case before the other side turns you off mentally or professionally or personally? Because if he stops listening before you stop talking, you're in trouble. So you've got to compact your message to fit what you think he is. But it's absolutely essential, as far as I'm concerned, to know how far you can push him before he goes nuts.
A big dollar contract is filled with many more dangers than a deal for the first timer.
The more financial incentive management has to trapdoor you, with some type of a provision that has to do with morals or whatever it happens to be, any one of the fuzzy ones. The less money there is at risk, the less incentive management has to fool with you because of the costs involved. In a morals clause, for example, phrases such as tends to or might, those are the types of words that give management an opportunity to use those words against talent, construe them in that fashion. So I look for certainty. I don't like to use the word reasonable because I know what reasonable means. It's what the judge says it means. I don't want reasonable. I want 60 days or 30 days or 27 and a half hours, whatever it happens to be, but I want something that is measurable here and now, because I don't care who the talent is, I will bet that the talent has less resources to devote to a law fight than management does. So they have the financial leverage to grind you down. In the business of broadcasting, generally the client is not the expert in the business at all. And so he's coming to an advisor to advise him about the business of the business, not just the contract terms of whether it's payable every 2 weeks or how many weeks of vacation you get, that type of stuff, but how this relates to their long-term success. And I think about it in terms of early going. What are the potential risks connected with various contract provisions, and what we can change and what we can't change, and then how to protect themselves, individual to protect him or herself from problems that can come up down the road as a result of.
Before you lock into a multi-year contract, make sure you take a look at when it expires.
The high season for movement in the industry is in the summer. So if you have a contract terminating at year end, calendar year end and so forth, that may put you in the market at perhaps the less desirable time when the positions may not be opening.
Let's face it, as a first-timer, you don't have much bargaining power.
When you're talking about people right out of school, the word leverage is almost non-existent with them. There may be some guys or gals who are a take it or leave it type of a proposition. And once you conclude that, then the best you can do is understand what you're getting into.
Still, it may not hurt to ask.
If they are so fearful about asking questions of their boss or their prospective boss, that may not be the relationship you want to have.
Bob says it's most important to fully understand what you're getting into.
Because they're not being hired or fired on the basis of the quality of the work necessarily. They're getting hired or fired on the basis of the economy. The fact that what they thought they were doing or what they thought they were being trained for has now been changed because the internet has become much more significant to the station, or their new business model has them doing things that are pretty much beyond their control. So, not that they're going to be able to control it, but at least they can understand it. That, as far as I'm concerned, is a key thing. If people can avoid the surprises of the disappointment.
One perk that may be easy to get in a contract is the right to do work on the side.
Once upon a time in contracts, the buzzword was exclusivity. You are my employee exclusively at Station X. I don't want you to do anything else, anywhere else, etc., because you belong to me. That exclusivity has been eroding over the last decade, and management has come to the conclusion that they will let you do other things that don't compromise your integrity, as far as, products and endorsements and things like that. But they will allow you to provide your services for other people, because the more money you get paid by somebody else, the less money they have to pay you. As long as you don't have two diametrically opposed employers going against each other, then a person has that financial collage.
The best job strategy is to make yourself indispensable.
You should learn as much as you can about every part of the community, whether it's, the government, the environment, all of those factors that are involved, because that's going to make you much better. And the difference between the good and the great in journalism, as far as I'm concerned, is their entrepreneurial spirit, the ability to look and see, and that takes study, that takes work, and it takes a little bit of imagination. Over time, I think the reporters who have had long-term success have developed a bit of a specialty themselves, whether it's the courthouse or the city hall, or in San Diego, the environment or the military or whatever it happens to be. But that type of expertise, I think, is the thing that will give you some job stability, because if management has to start making cuts, they're going to be asking, well, can we afford to lose her? She's our office expert on City Hall. We've got an election coming up, or things like that. So I think over time they ought to be looking at developing an expertise. I'm not thinking about just today, but I'm thinking about the 2 years and where at the end of those 2 years you're going to be, because that's your platform year or platform circumstance for your next one. And so what are you going to be able to tell management 2 years from now about you that makes you a more valuable employee than you are now? You need to be thinking about, how do I grow? How do I add to my skills? How do I make myself more valuable?